Welcome back to Second Nature. I am so fired up because I just got back from the Outdoor Media Summit and I made all kinds of friends there. But one of the best conversations I had there was with Chef Corso. He and I were on the way back from a trail day where we did a bunch of trail maintenance with the Osprey and the Goo crew. And we had such a fascinating conversation where we were comparing notes about content and travel and destination marketing organizations and all that stuff. I came away from that drive so inspired that I had to drag Chef Corso onto the pod. So, yes, Chef, let's do this.
Well, great to be with you, Aaron. Yeah, we had a great day on the trail in Durango, Colorado. And yeah, there's a lot to chat about business and creativity and how to navigate all of that, but excited to be here with you.
How was the Outdoor Media Summit experience for you? I'm just kind of curious. That's where you and I met. We sat through probably a lot of the same presentations and stuff, but was that your first time at that summit and how did it go?
Yeah, it was my first time and it went great. You know, I run everything for Outdoor Eats and wear a lot of different hats. So it was very fun to be able to connect with different creators, different brands, also get some good insight into some sales within the industry. And also, I mean, it's big into AI as well as updates on protecting public lands, which is a big hot button topic right now. So there's a lot of information there and a lot of good networking.
One of the things that you did really well, that a handful of other people did really well, that I did not do very well, was some people came super prepared and you had your Trail Meals cookbook here. You had your info and you handed this to me after the ride now or after the trail day. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like you had a takeaway that was like super high value. It stuck with me. Obviously I had something to read on the flight home as well. Like, what a genius move. From every conference from here until the end of time, I am going to be way more prepared with something to send back with everybody. Cause I feel like I've got to imagine people have reached back out and been like, hey, I've got your thing. It's top of mind because it's still top of my desk. Yeah,
for sure. Well, it's fun to share something with somebody besides just a business card.
Yes.
And for me, I do a lot of different creativity and create over different mediums. And one of those is through the pocket-sized cookbooks. So yeah, they are literally pocket size. You have one there. I have a couple here, but 20 separate recipes. And I create great recipes and easy recipes for elevated meals outdoors. So at outdooreats.com, we have over 300 trail tested recipes, which then leads to the cookbooks, which we have 8 different editions throughout the series. And happy to report that I've sold over 30,000 copies of these through the last 6 years of the brand. And they're just very fun. You can put them right in your pocket or right in your glove box. And good to have something that's a hard copy that you can take out with you and then follow along to cook up some great meals.
You had me at Cascade Edition, a proper Northwesterner. I was very happy to see this.
Absolutely.
I saw recently also that these are now available in REI. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, as the time of this recording, REI picked them up last week, so nationwide, but then they are also available at Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, and then through our website, outdooreats.com.
Okay, so you've got these cookbooks happening. You've got a YouTube channel. You have a TV show. You've got all these things kind of going on. Which one of these things came first?
Yeah, so Outdoor Eats started for the hiker and backpacker because that's what I am. I'm from the Pacific Northwest as well, so I grew up in Port Angeles, Washington, and then lived in Seattle for 12 years. And as I went on my backpacking trips and started exploring with my friends a little bit more, I noticed that most folks are just boiling water and adding it to a bag and calling it dinner. And I'm a classically trained chef. I've been in the food industry for over 20 years, trained in Napa Valley in northern Italy, and food has always been a strong component of my life. And I was sort of curious to see that food was sort of an afterthought for a lot of these backpacking trips. And again, just like digging with your long spoon down to a bottom of a bag, and it's like kind of a culinary sufferfest that people were going on. And I just didn't understand why this was happening. So wanted to really dig into the recipe creation for the outdoor community. And then also specifically for the camp stoves. And there are challenges to be able to cook with these camp stoves and taking out a good meal plan, and kind of thought through those as I was testing recipes. And so all of our recipes are 10 ingredients or less, ready in 30 minutes or less, no pre-prep, no dehydrating. So quick, easy, tasty trail meals. And what I found is that when you actually cook with your camp stove, you make pad thai, you make elevated ramen, you make jambalaya, you make something tasty, is it complements your trip so much better than a packaged meal or just another bar or a handful of nuts. And to me, it's the trifecta. It's people, place, and food. And when you put those three things together and you're sitting at a beautiful alpine lake or by a river, magic happens, and you create lasting memories, and you're satiated, you're excited for your mealtime rather than just shoveling down something that's a little bit sloppy. It doesn't have a whole lot of texture or full of preservatives or a whole bunch of salt. So really thought about the recipe creation for the hiker and backpacker in those early days. So it did start with single recipes and launched a website with just a few dozen recipes. I didn't know I wanted to make a cookbook at the time. I didn't have any idea about making YouTube or even a television show at all. I just knew that I like cooking and I like going outside, and I wanted to share that with the community. So it started there, but it has grown nicely over the last 5 or 6 years to multiple forms of content and support for the outdoor community in order to be able to elevate their meals and cook great things outdoors. And the other thing that I am doing as well too, which is just adding to the layer of content, is some food writing. So I also write for my own personal queries and kind of culinary deep thoughts, I'm calling them, and I'm posting them on Substack at Chef Corso, so you can check that out as well. So not necessarily outdoor cooking related, but I love food and I think about it all the time. So I
Same.
just like creating content in different styles of that as I roll along.
It's interesting to think about how food does play this role and how we as people in the outdoors sort of overlook it. I mean, I from my history of putting on events, both internal at a brand and then also, public facing, sometimes like the food is the make or break thing. If you have good food at an event, everybody automatically loves the event and is willing to forgive some mistakes. If you have bad food at an event, everything goes wrong. And it's funny to think about being in the outdoors of, we're already so happy to be outside that we're willing to sort of overlook stuff. But like, what if the food was actually delicious and nutritious? Like, whoa.
Well, that's the funny thing. When people try recipes for outdoor eats, they maybe think it's really hard or really challenging. And again, I'm trying to knock down a lot of those barriers for folks. But once they try an outdoor eats recipe, they're like, oh, I'm not going back to packaged meals. And we already know that food's going to taste good outside. We're hungry. We've had a long day on the trail. We've had a long drive to the state park campsite. So, but what you said is really, really correct. It's like, well, what if it was actually good? And then how good would that experience be? And I think for car camping too, what I've noticed when I've been doing workshops around the country for a lot of the overland community or for different outdoor brands, is that for car camping, we get in a recipe rut. We have our campfire meals, we have our foil packs, we do our banana boats, s'mores and that kind of thing. And those are good, but you just need some new ideas sometimes to break you out of that rut.
Thinking about the content side of things and how this probably evolved for you, I think so many people that are successfully creating content, and I think you and I probably fall into this category, it's like stuff that we were already doing, stuff that we already knew, and then we figured out a way to share it, to spread it to a wider audience. So you start by posting these recipes on a website, but obviously it turns into this like content empire with all kinds of other stuff going on. What was that first step that you probably saw people downloading these recipes and thought, what else should I be doing here? How did that develop?
Yeah, well, I'll take a step back and how it really started. So I have been, again, in the food industry for over 20 years. I've had my time in kitchens. And one of my first real roles in my late 20s was as a research chef. So I got to test and develop new food products for the grocery store for different brands. So I was working in a test kitchen with a bunch of food scientists and other chefs to create new food for us. So I was making ice creams and salad dressings. I literally had an ice cream maker next to my desk.
Oh, that's
and
dangerous.
that was like part of my job, which was super, super fun and really interesting. But at that time, it was my first 9-to-5 job. I'd been working a lot of off hours and weekends, and I felt like a real person because I was working Monday through through Friday and working on these really fun projects. And, that evolved into being a head chef for a restaurant group in Seattle, Washington, and then eventually some culinary consulting. And, my last quote unquote real job before I started my own business was working for Starbucks. And you may have heard of it before.
I invented the pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, I didn't actually do that, but I was working for their Starbucks Reserve brand. And my role was menu creation and team training. So they sent me all over the country to help train and maintain quality for different teams. But there was one day when they pulled us into the office and they laid off 75% of the team. And I was part of that. And I was pretty surprised because I knew what was coming, but they made a choice. I'm not mad at them. But I was already working on outdoor eats in my dark office at like 10 o'clock at night because I was like, okay, I like this idea and I think I want to get it out there. But I literally just didn't have enough time in the day. So they gave me kind of a runway, and it was a door closing, door opening situation. And that was March of 2019, and gave myself 6 months to see if it could turn into something. And at that time, again, I didn't know anything about anything. I just knew that I liked cooking outside, and I thought that these recipes could be helpful for folks, and just needed like a couple more weeks to launch that website. And from there, it's been a nice growth and a nice progression along the way. But I think what's interesting about the whole process too is that, a couple of the things that are most successful for Outdoor Eats is the cookbooks and now the television show or through the YouTube kind of early exploration. But those things I never actually wanted to do. Like my friends were like, hey, you should make a cookbook. You're a chef. And I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe. But like I didn't want a big fat 100 recipe cookbook because I just didn't think it made sense for the outdoor space. But then as I was testing recipes, I would print out a recipe and then kind of cut it out and paste it into a little field notebook and go out on my hikes and see how it was and, provide some notes and go from there. And oh, this is how we can do it. And it made way, way, way more sense. But then similarly is some of my friends were like, you love food and you teach me how to make pesto inside and how to make ranch dressing and all kinds of stuff. Like you could set up a camera and teach people how to do this. And I was like, I don't know, do I really want to put my face on this and put all that energy into creation? So I think there's, in your experience too, of when you first start doing it, it's really awkward.
Yes.
and really weird. And it's just a very interesting process. And then you're looking and editing yourself and you fumble and you stumble and you're like, oh man, this is terrible. But eventually you find your voice and it turns into a fun, creative medium. And sure, there's energy and time involved in creating those things. But now creating recipes and cookbooks and video content is some of the most fun that I have.
It feels like you sort of have your path laid out in front of you where you know kind of what you need to do. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people really struggle with in the early days of it all, where, like you mentioned, oh, it's really awkward in the beginning. The thing for everybody, for all of us as creators, is that we're not good at it and we're not getting paid to do it. And those are the first two reasons why almost everybody doesn't do what we do. But if you push just past that for maybe a year, maybe 6 months, maybe a year and 6 months, you start to build these skill sets up. And then you have this, you've got a head start on everybody else who's still convinced that they can't do it and they can't make money doing it. And now you have a gap.
Yeah. Well, and I think a thing that I always share for folks is just to try. Try making a video, try doing some writing, and doing 2 or 3 of them will guide you very quickly on if you want to continue doing it, even if you're not great, if you want to keep workshopping it or talk to some other people or some other training. But there's only one way to figure it out, and that's to try it and flop it out there. I think that was one of the biggest things that I had for the business was the flopping out, to actually putting out a website. I'm like, oh wow, okay, I'm really doing this. And then you get feedback really quickly. You can, check and adjust. But, I think a lot of folks just get stuck and they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, just try it. And if it doesn't work, then don't do it anymore.
This is the best part, and the worst part is that nobody cares. The best part is that nobody cares, so you can try stuff and it's okay if it doesn't work. But also, like, it's hard because nobody cares. Like, nobody cares that you put so much time and energy into this 10-minute video or into this cook. You know, like, they don't understand or appreciate the effort that went into it, and that could be really hard. But also, nobody's going to come at you if it's not great either. And so that's sort of the best part about the early stages of this whole thing.
Yeah, well, and some of that too for folks and people like, oh, you know, how do I get started in YouTube or any sort of creative medium is again, just try it, and maybe you don't even put it out. You just make it for yourself, and you be your best and worst critic of, hey, like, how did I do here? And did I do good enough, or like, what can I learn to make it again? And, you know, something that I didn't do, which I wish somebody would have told me, is just like to do a couple dummy videos or something like that. But it's, sometimes we get in our head too much and we overthink it, but it's amazing once you finally try something, and that can lead your business or your creativity down this whole other path that you had no idea was there.
I think also this idea of testing and learning and not accepting that you're where you're supposed to be just right out of the gate. I mean, when I first started my YouTube channel, it was actually me running, which now I have a bike channel, but it's actually the same YouTube channel. It started me running and taste testing gels and gummies and talking about them. And then I started like doing this very obscure version of bike riding. And I got the channel up to maybe like 25,000 subscribers doing, you know, content. And then I realized that actually there was I should actually niche up instead of niche down. I should go from like this obscure mountain bike discipline that didn't have a lot of people in it to widening it out into all of mountain biking. And then all of a sudden that's what made it take off. So I had really like, you know, paid my dues before I really hit that hockey stick moment with my channel. And I think that's also one of those things where I was making it because I loved to do it. And the feedback I was getting was good, but I wasn't getting the numbers, but I still was going to make it every week, anyway, you know,
for sure.
Because it was for me.
Well, I've got a question for you for your process, and especially that you've been doing it for a little while, is do you have a group of people that you seek feedback from? I mean, I'm not sure how big your overall business is, or your editing team, or whatever, but who do you get feedback from? You're
looking at it, man. Okay, so with Second Nature, obviously we have Brett who does the edits, and Ryan that helps us with production, and Dylan and I obviously, you know, do the posting. But with Super Rider, it's just me. I'm out there filming, editing. Occasionally, if I do a travel video, I'll get some help for that one. But most of the stuff, it's just me filming it on a tripod and then coming back to the house and editing it and posting it up. When it comes to, I guess to answer your question more specifically, when it comes to getting feedback, I would say the only real feedback that I care about is if it resonates with a big enough audience that it gets decent views. If it doesn't get decent views, then I know like, okay, that's maybe not the format that I'm after. By this point, I have a pretty fair idea of what people are looking for and the structure of the content that I know is going to perform. But that can also be kind of a trap, because when you have videos that like, oh, every single time I post a long form video, it automatically goes over 10,000. Every time I post a short, it has to go to 100,000. Now I'm scared to test and learn, because I'm like, well, what if I post a long form video of a new concept that only gets 2,500 views? For me, that would be catastrophic, you know, in not in terms of like a financial sense, but like my ego would take a big hit if I didn't have a video that performed. But in the same vein, like you have to be continually trying new things and putting different things out there, because just like I had been posting this one specific tutorial style for this one discipline in mountain biking, and I was getting like 1,000 views maximum on videos. And then when I tried something new, it went to 80,000. And I was like, oh, okay. Like maybe it's not just like the quality of the edit, but it's who you're speaking to and how many people it's actually useful to. And so I had to do the test and learn to, you know, kind of make it work. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's interesting too. So a couple things to follow up with that is, well, one, I hear you because I wear a lot of the hats for Outdoor Eats too, and it's a lot of my ideas and then my creativity and going to make it and edit and doing all those kind of things. I think what's interesting for your style and your perspective is your feedback is coming directly from your audience and views. And I think that's interesting with YouTube is like, we're always chasing more followers. We're always chasing more views. And that is helpful feedback. But then at times it's like, well, but can I just like create something that I want to create that it frankly doesn't matter as much about views, which is, the YouTuber debate of all time, I think.
Absolutely.
One thing that has been helpful for me as far as feedback is some very, very good friends. Some of them are in the outdoor space, and then some of them are not, like, at all. And often I'll go to them with a query or a question, just be like, hey, like, am I crazy here? Like, can you just give me either a stamp of approval or like help me kick this to the curb really quick? Because I am mostly a one-man show, but I often call it the workshop. And, I think as creators, we have so much emotion and energy in our ideas, and we're either excited for them or worried about them or so many different emotions. And that can kind of cloud the quality of the idea or the overall feedback. So I'll seek feedback from multiple people, whether that's an email or a quick Zoom call, like, hey guys, I got an idea. Could you help me out with this? And they're very helpful and very generous with their time to be able to share that. But it's only made the end product better. And I call it the workshop because you kind of put it in the workshop over here. And so it takes some of that emotion away. And I learned this from one of the books that I read a while ago from the creators of Pixar. It's called Creativity Inc. Mm-hmm. And they use the term the brain trust. So it's like the top level of the management, and they are very open to bringing an idea or a scene or something they're stuck on to the brain trust or to the workshop. And they literally massage and mold the idea, but then there's no emotion involved. The goal is to make the product better rather than making it right or whoever has ownership over it. And that's been so helpful for me to kind of detach from all this, because it is my face, it is my name on everything. But it's been a very, very helpful process to make the end product better, because I got a lot of ideas, but I don't have all of them. And again, sometimes it's just like, nope, this isn't a good idea. You shouldn't do this. Or, hey, yeah, take it and run with it. That's helpful.
I feel like the thing that I'm trying the hardest to do right now is to remove ego from everything. And I think that one of the traps that a lot of creators fall into is this idea. This is a basic example of like, oh, I need to have merch. Everybody wants to wear my channel name across their chest or on my hat or whatever. I need to have a whole merch line of my logo. And I did that. I did have okay, yeah, I'll make us some shirts and some stuff. And of course, like, your hardcore fans are like, dude, I'm in. I got you, Right. In my case, it was actually a really funny thing. And I got feedback. I am teaching beginner and intermediate mountain bikers how to get started and how to develop skills. But the channel name is Super Rider. And so people are like, I don't feel comfortable wearing Super Rider when I'm everything but super at riding bikes. And I was like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, I didn't think of that before I printed $1,000 worth of merch, but now good to know. But like how to make decisions that are more business based, not ego based, is really an important thing. And I think you had your website where you were offering up this thing. You had a signal that was like, oh, people really care about getting recipes. And if I double down on like providing that in other forms and formats and showing them that kind of thing, I can develop out this brand in a meaningful way. So maybe let's go back to a little bit of that. How did you start to see those early signals, and how did you know? What was it, your workshop crew that was helping you kind of decide what the next step should be along the way, or how did you evolve?
Mm-hmm. Well, don't feel bad. When I first started the company, I was, oh, this is exciting. Let's put the logo on a t-shirt. And it's funny, when you put a logo on a t-shirt or you have a business card, you just automatically feel legitimate and have a business. But I did dump some money that I probably shouldn't have spent, but you live and you learn.
These are the phases that we have to go through, like being terrible on camera, buying your own merch, like these are phases that everybody goes through. It's not wrong. No judgment.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a necessary part of the evolution.
Yeah. Well, when I first started the website, and again, at that point I didn't have cookbooks or any sort of video content, is I actually thought I was going to sell PDF recipe packs, like three or four recipes for like $4 or $5. And that was going to be the ticket. And very few, if anybody, bought any in the first few months. So I learned early on, and especially with the style of recipes and kind of the natural path for the outdoors person right now, is what I was providing was something new and different, and I needed them to try it. So I kind of pulled back on selling something and figured out that I would figure that out in the future, but just gave it away for free. And kind of started the recipe bank that was free and open for anybody. You can download a quick, easy recipe and take it out. So that was kind of a very, very early, in the first month, hey, this isn't quite working, and I will figure out how to make some money and make a business out of this, but that's not the mission of it right now. I also learned very quickly in that first month or two that for me, having that quick return on like instantly $10,000 in sales or $5,000 or anything like that just wasn't going to happen. So I just shifted my mentality to kind of a more longer term play, because my eventual mission for Outdoor Eats is to teach and share that you can eat well outdoors, and that's a longer play than just here the packaged meal, go eat it. But it also, I at that time kind of tripled down on community and connecting with people. I started teaching workshops and showing when you can cook for somebody and give them a bite of a beef stroganoff that's not out of a bag with rehydrated beef jerky, or mango fried rice that cooks up in 10 minutes and packs down to just a couple ounces per serving, it really emphasizes the point. So I also started the recipe tester program for our recipes too. So we have a whole crew of recipe testers around the country and around the world now, and you can all sign up at outdooreats.com if you want to help test some recipes. But it helped connect people to the process and then help make sure that the recipes work, and then I edit them and upload them to the recipe bank. But it's been a way that we've been able to grow. We have over 300 recipes right now on the recipe bank, all different dietary restrictions, style of trip, different flavor profiles, that kind of thing. So it was an interesting evolution of trying to make money quickly, realizing that wasn't quite going to happen, but then that's okay. And just sort of like shifting the mentality to being helpful and being supportive and building a community around it. And then everything else will come. But some of those, workshop friends help guide that. But then also just the general outdoor community, as I started having more conversations with people, it guided some of the path in those early days.
So what was the turning point for you on making content, on kicking off the YouTube channel? How did you get started, and how did that come along?
Yeah, I mean, it was some of those workshop friends that were like, hey, you should do this. And I was very hesitant. I'm a natural introvert, and I love connecting with people when I can, but I also need my time to recharge. And I also didn't want my face to be the face of Outdoor Eats. I wanted it to be about the food and about the experience. But as I thought about it more, of like thinking about other chefs that are popular or successful, from Bobby Flay to Guy Fieri or Gordon Ramsay, is we look to trust chefs and creators, and then people will buy their cookbooks, have the recipes, but there's a personality there that people resonate with. So we're talking about finding your voice and being more comfortable with sharing your message. And that took a little bit of time to figure out. But it started with some friends just sort of not pushing me off the end of the end of the dock or end of the pool, but they poked me quite a bit to like, just do it, just try it. And again, I finally did. It was awkward. It was not great, but helped hone the idea, and it was just layers of me being comfortable with this new business and running it myself, and then having my face be a part of the experience.
You've built up a lot of stuff now. So you've got the community, you've got the cookbooks, you've got the YouTube channel now in this phase. And we'll get to the TV show as well. But how do you sort of manage your time? How do you keep everything, organized in your brain? Because you're doing a lot of stuff. Do you feel like you're drawing congruencies between like, okay, I'm going to go film this thing and it's going to be in this cookbook and I'm working on this thing? Like, do they feel connected, or do you feel like you're still shotgunning it out? And no judgment if that's the case, because I feel like, it can be that way.
Yeah, I think at this point, Outdoor Eats has been going for 6 years or so. And I tell a lot of my friends this, is that I'm not in building mode anymore. It is more about maintaining and then following the path as it goes down. I think at the early days, it was figuring out how to build a website, redoing that website. Oh, we're going to do a shift here. Okay, I'm going to start doing video content. So there's a lot of time in figuring things out, and then running your head against the wall because you don't know how to build a Squarespace website. It can be super, super challenging, but then getting through those, there's just so much gratification and knowledge that you can gain along the way. But for me now, it's doing my best to focus on one style or one medium. Be like, okay, I need to film some videos today. Okay, I got a couple hours, or going to do a half day and do a trail hike where I am. And what I've learned for my productivity style is to budget that time for it and block it out. If I'm trying to do 4 things at once, then only a half a thing gets done. And I do my own research as far as productivity and how the brain works and all that kind of thing. And we do so much better when we're focused and then take a break and then come back to it. Where for me, I don't do well if I'm in front of a computer for 8 hours straight. But if I do bites and bits, then I can get stuff done. And the other thing that I think you're probably challenged too with as a creator is you could work all the days of the week. You can work all the hours of the day, but you also need some rest, right? And you need some freedom to go on your bike ride, or to go on a trail run, or just go for a walk around the block. And so I've been being very, very mindful over the last couple of years of my own rest time as well, because I could literally just be working all the time.
Yeah.
But that's not what should happen. But for me, what's been very helpful is budgeting that hour or two, block it out, put your phone on airplane mode and don't have those distractions. And you can be quite productive when you really focus on it.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And those breaks, yeah, you're right. There's unlimited stuff for us to do. I mean, even before we started recording, I'm talking about how I'm putting extra effort in on Facebook, and actually just recently started redoing my TikTok stuff, and then obviously Instagram, and then YouTube, and then, should I keep doing newsletters? I don't know. Like, there's unlimited amount of stuff. There was a presentation at OMS that really resonated with me. It was, what was his name? Craig Adams, I think, the guy the ambient hiker guy.
Yeah.
He had this slide, and it had all of the different things that you can do as a creator that he has done over the course of his career. And he had kind of like a green light, yellow light, red light next to like, this is what I'm definitely doing. This is sometimes I'll do, and then this is what I don't do anymore. And, it was everything from doing blogs and newsletters and, whatever platform you want to call it. And he was really focused in. He talked about focusing in on the flagship. And that really resonated with me, of like, just focus in on, and I think even like that building mode, we're still, for me at least, I feel like I'm almost to that maintenance, but I'm still trying to like test everything one last time to see, like, did I miss something? Is there something out there that's really going to get traction that I should just, put some extra effort into? But I feel like we can do everything, and we will do everything until we realize, like, actually, by just focusing on these couple things.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing too is, as the process goes along for whatever creative medium you're doing or whatever business that you're doing, is there is opportunity to hire contractors or farm out things that are necessary, but are kind of taking your time. And one of those things for me is editing. Is I can edit, I know how to, but it takes a lot of energy for me to push that rock up the hill. And so over the last couple of years, I've found some great editing partners, and they do a better job than I can ever do. And they can also do it faster than I can ever do. But then that frees up, even a couple hours in the week for me to do something else. Or there's also, you can do nothing. Like doing nothing is also an option. Maybe you can take a nap, maybe go on a walk, maybe read a book, maybe hang out with your kids. And that is extremely valuable depending on the thing that's kind of extra hard for you to complete.
One of the sentences that really helps me out of those situations a lot is what would need to be true. Shout out to our buddy Steve Holmberg. He really teed that up for me of like, okay, well, what would need to be true for you to get that result, or what would need to be true for that to actually work? And then it forces you to kind of reverse engineer, like, I don't know if I can do all this editing. What would need to be true for me to never have to edit again? You know, like what are the things? I'm also reading this book right now called The Science of Scaling. And it's sort of a similar idea of like set a 1000x goal and then work backward from that. What would need to be true if I had this like game changing thing happen? Could I do those things? And it really resonated with me personally because I worked at Red Bull for quite a while, and so many of the ideas that were pitched during business planning were just like insane. And then even worse, they'd be like, great, that sounds good. Here's enough money to do it. And then you're sitting there being like, okay, I guess we're doing this. How am I going to hit this like extreme goal? But inevitably you would do exactly what that framework of science to scaling was. Like now that there's a book, there's like an explainer to something that we were kind of already doing by feel. But I feel like when it comes to all these things that we feel like we're hung up on, doing that same process of what would need to be true to 1000x this, or what would need to be true to solve this problem is the way forward that seems to be like bailing me out of a lot of stuff recently. For sure. Well, I think that's your previous experience is obviously not the normal for a lot of smaller businesses of like, hey, we got a cool idea, let's go do it. Oh yeah, here's the actual budget for you to execute. Just go ahead and jump out of space. You're good. Yeah, you're like, right, sounds good. Or let's get some squirrel suits. Let's go do that. Right. And we're going to create some really cool content around it. And for me and for you and some other smaller creators, it is the ideas aren't the problem. It's budget and time. Mm-hmm. But I think that to your point of finding the goal, how can we make that true? And it could be that you're going to have to do the work in the first month, 6 months, year, whatever, which is, I think, really helpful because you know enough to be dangerous and also to learning what questions to ask for a contractor or someone else that's going to come in and help you. But it's an interesting comparison as far as small business challenge versus big business challenge. But then, there's a goal and you're trying to figure out how to complete it. Well, you certainly have a little bit of help when it comes to the TV show. Mm-hmm. I want to hear all about this and as much as you want to share, but you obviously have been doing a lot of the right stuff that's resonating with a large community of people that has value in both the outdoor industry, culinarily. There's a lot of topics that are kind of like coming together for Outdoor Eats to do what it does. How did this TV show come together and what are the elements that are making it work? Yeah, so this is, a very nice evolution of the Outdoor Eats idea and the Outdoor Eats mission. And it did come from YouTube. And again, like, didn't want to do YouTube, did YouTube, figured out I, kind of liked it. And I was doing one recipe one day. I was on the San Francisco coast, just north, and I was making pad thai. It was a beautiful backdrop as the waves were crashing in. And for some of our videos, there's 7 to 10 minutes of a tutorial on how to make the recipe. And I thought, I'm like, well, if I'm making pad thai by an ocean or a river or a lake for 7 minutes, we can do 3 or 4 recipes for an episode and make a whole TV show. And it took me a little while to figure out and hone the idea because I did some research on
other classic food shows, other travel shows that were popular. Obviously, Anthony Bourdain is a champion in kind of the travel and food space, and a lot of people have emulated his style through the years. But it took me about a year to put together that pitch and to really hone the idea of what Outdoor Eats was. But that idea turned out to be a educational food show first, combined with a travel show, combined with an adventure show. So there's elements of food culture, there's elements of food and shared meals and recipe creation along the way. So put together a pitch it to a couple of production companies. And I had a small relationship through Backpacker TV with Heliconia Productions. They're up in Canada. And they actually produced 4 or 5 other outdoor shows. So pitched them the idea. And the president, oddly, was, after I was done with my pitch, he's like, cool, we've been wanting to do this kind of show for a long time. And I was like, really? Like, it's that easy? And he's like, well, not really. And then we need to go find a budget. Yeah. I'm like, oh, right.
That's the hard part.
That's how this works, right? Because I'm a relative nobody, and they're not just going to fit the bill for an untested program. But then it took me about another 6 months or a year to find some funding to be able to at least make the first couple episodes. And at this point, we have finished season 3 of Outdoor Eats TV. It's airing nationally on FanDuel Sports and Outside TV. The great part about my production partner is they have mainline distribution, which I frankly didn't know at the beginning of the partnership. But for any sort of creator, it's how do you get your product out? If you're making a great cheese or a bread or a microbrewery or wherever, is you can make a great product, but how do you distribute it? And so what was great about that is we didn't have to go resell it to a streaming platform or to a mainline television distributor. So they already had that path. So in our seasons right now are pretty short. So season 1 was 2 episodes just to kind of test the concept. And then season 2 is 4 episodes. Season 3 was 4 episodes as well. And then we're rolling into production for season 4, which will come out next year, and we'll do 4 to 6 episodes. But we have now been all over the country, all over the world. One of the ways we fund the show is through tourism. So we'll partner with a tourism board in highlighting their approachable outdoor adventures, maybe a meeting up with a chef, or there's an interesting food artisan along the way. But we filmed in St. Petersburg, Florida, Corpus Christi, Texas, did a couch to campsite concept in the San Francisco area where we backpacked across the Golden Gate Bridge and cooked some great recipes on the other side. But then this whole year has been very fun. We've been going international for the first time. So we filmed in Ireland, Switzerland, and Ecuador, all within a 6-month time frame. So it was very, very fun, but it's really cool to see how people recreate around the country in different styles, but also internationally, as everybody goes outside in their own different way, whether that's walkabouts in the UK or, beautiful day hikes in Switzerland. But I was able to eat fondue in an alpine valley with a former ski champion. And I'm like, yeah, this is a really fun segment. Or we filmed in Ireland, and we were able to go to the Aran Islands outside of Galway and meet with a goat cheese producer, farmer, and then I made lunch with him. So it's sort of like we were talking about. It's like, this is what I would do anyway. Like, I would go to Ireland and look for the food and the artisans and the cheese and the whiskeys or the beer and enjoy those. But now we get to tell a story around those people and around those meals and connection. And it's been really, really fun to create. And I always love cooking and teaching people how to cook wherever you're going. But then what I'm enjoying the most is meeting these people and telling these stories.
How did you think about, you had a YouTube channel. You could have just made this same episode and made it for YouTube, but you went and you found a production agency, and then, there's additional distribution, but could you have just made this same thing for your YouTube channel and just put the energy and the budget into that? Does it change the equation when you bring in a production agency, when you bring in the mainline distribution? How does that make it different? Does it make it more complicated at all?
I think it can go either way. I think for me and the partnership that I have is they're giving me a lot of creative freedom to tell the story how I like. They're supporting me a lot in in planning the episodes, finding the connections, and kind of polishing and honing the idea. I think that the episodes do land on the YouTube channel as well eventually, but I think that YouTube is obviously a big medium and big channel, and it continues to grow with a lot of different demographics. But TV, in a lot of ways, is still king. It's where a lot of the main advertising dollars are for the larger brands, and where some of my demographics still is. That's obviously going to continue to evolve as everyone ages and gets older. But I don't know. I kind of wanted to diversify where the content was going. And because I sort of saw it as an educational food show, is similar to a Food Network kind of show, that I thought that would be a good spot for it to land. And so far, so good.
I mean, I think it's amazing to be able to say you have a TV show and, the ability to be out in front of people that, aren't algorithmically targeted, I suppose. It's just, it opens different doors. And I've got to imagine it opens doors when you're going to the tourism departments to say, hi, we're making an actual TV show, not just like a YouTube video. No disrespect to all of our YouTube homies.
No, right.
But like there is some clout that comes along with having a TV show. So I've got to imagine that has to play a role in what you could potentially unlock with all these different people. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there's different positives to each channel and to each distribution platform. I think with creating for YouTube, there still is some delightful freedom to just sort of do whatever you want, unless you have, a strong brand partnership that you're trying to honor. So it's not like that when I'm creating for the TV show, I feel sheltered or stuck or anything like that. It's just a little bit different and maybe a little bit more polished than me just sort of shooting from the hip and seasoning up some ramen or something like that.
Fair. Totally fair. Yeah. How do you think about working with these, we call them DMOs, right? Destination marketing organizations. And there are basically DMOs in almost every awesome place all over the world that are basically trying to get people to come there. And obviously showing up at the TV show, wanting to film there is like probably pretty exciting in those conversations. But what does that conversation typically look like? I'm sure you're having those. I'm sure the production team is having those conversations, but it seems like a really big thing that the outdoor industry at large, I don't think has truly unlocked. I feel like the culinary world, the lifestyle world, when it comes to social media, has done a really great job of unlocking that budget. But if I'm honest about specifically outdoor sports, I don't think we've accurately I just don't think we've done a good job unlocking that. So what does that look like? And what do you think people could kind of learn from what you've done so far?
Yeah, well, I think hitting on your last point there is I agree. I think we know about destination travel for food, and sometimes that is a sponsored destination, or obviously travel or cruise ships or anything like that for the content that's created out there. But for a lot of these smaller cities that are mountain bike hubs or paddling destinations, another huge market, or bike packing destinations, is I don't think that tourism is going after those eyeballs yet, but I think it's a good opportunity for them. For each one of our destination partners, we look at it very much as a partnership. So we make sure that folks know that Outdoor Eats isn't your standard cooking show. Like, we're not going to go to 3 restaurants and tell you where to eat. We may touch on that, but for the style of content and the style of show that I want to make is, again, it's an educational food show first. We're going to cook a few recipes and some fun destinations, but then there's an opportunity to showcase your parks, your trails, your beautiful vistas or bluffs that you want people to visit when you're coming in. And it can go a couple different ways. Like, we partnered with Visit Ireland, and they were very hands-off. We put together a whole episode plan of things that I thought would be fun and interesting. Like, we met with a salt manufacturer off the coast that is doing literally harvesting seawater and making sea salt. Super, super fun to hear that story. Yeah. And I also met with a local kind of chef artisan who's doing traditional smoked fish. and got to learn that process of smoked hake and salmon and some different fishes. So got to learn that process and that story. But I was given a lot of freedom just to be like, okay, well, this is what I think would be interesting. They signed off on it and we went and filmed it. But then there's other times where the destination is very hands-on. It's like, hey, we do have a new trail, or hey, this chef just opened up this restaurant and we'd love for you to partner with him. Let's see how we can make that work into the plan. So it's very much a collaborative, creative process. At least it can be. And I like those. I mean, any way works, but I like those a little bit more because then it's a win-win and there's input on both sides, and we eventually come together. And then back to that workshop is that everyone is sort of workshopping together to provide ideas, to provide a plan, and then putting it into a shoot schedule that can work. And then the destination is happy with the end content, and then we're happy with the episode that we've created. And again, it turns out to be really fun. I know there's probably some stories of either creators that are kind of up in their head, or the destination is super tight about what they want. But I think if you come at it from a collaborative approach and a win-win approach, then you're eventually going to land on something that's pretty darn good.
So destination marketing organization, I think one of the key things to know for anybody listening that's trying to pitch or reach out to a DMO, it's like they are basically funded by the tourist tax when people get a hotel room. So if you look at your receipt or your folio when you check out, you see like this 1% tourism tax where you just paid like $5 or whatever. That money goes into the marketing budget for that territory, and everybody's kind of supporting it that way. And so the DMO's responsibility is to take that money and use it in ways that's going to bring more people to the destination to stay in hotels. And so your job as a partner to the DMO is to bring people in through your content to stay at these hotels and do cool things in that particular destination.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's also other funding options whether that can be county or state run. If you're ever in a city and you see like Visit Montana on the side of the buses, or Visit Zion, or Utah Elevate, or whatever it is, that is the destination using that budget to bring people to the city or to the state. And again, each DMO, each region or each state is slightly different on how they fund it and how much they have to spend. But we have found that it can vary based on their own goals. So sometimes, like we're talking with Visit Olympic Peninsula, which is where I'm from, and to work on an episode plan for kind of a origin story for Chef Corso, which I think is going to be really fun because that's like where I started cooking and where I'm from. And but they don't need people in the summertime. People are coming to Olympic National Park, and they know that. They don't need more people then, but they need some people maybe in February or maybe in November that want to go over for a holiday weekend or just something a little bit different than hanging out in Seattle or going to Portland. So it's been interesting to have these conversations and to hear their goals on how they want to spend that budget and what they're looking to highlight.
If you're looking for a DMO organization, your best bet is just to type in the word visit and then the name of the destination.
Yep, for sure. Well, and I think what's been really cool about the TV show is that we have filmed in some very big, fun destinations, from Switzerland to Ireland and to the mountains of Ecuador and exploring the city of Quito. But then we also partnered with Corpus Christi, Texas, and we filmed in the Smoky Mountains. And there are approachable outdoor adventures everywhere. There's food everywhere. And what I love to celebrate, which is what I normally do when I'm traveling too, is celebrating local artisans. Because some of these cheeses or microbreweries or bakeries, they don't travel. And, like, oh, I love this sauce or this jam, but it only has a radius of like 2 states, but you can only get it when you're there. And I love celebrating that story because they're usually extremely passionate about whatever they're making. And that's another way to kind of connect yourself to the destination, is through those local artisans.
What a cool way to just discover new things and do the stuff that we collectively love to do. I think that's sort of my my style too. Of like, I just want to discover stuff and share it with everybody else. Like, I love that process. And I think, like you said, this is what we would do anyway. And, I've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I've seen in some of your content too is just a really good coffee shop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And somebody who foams milk properly, that's fresh roasting their beans. And there's maybe one or two, but they love doing that. And having a nice, good cup of coffee in the morning, whether that's, a drip or an espresso drink, is wonderful. Yeah. And like, I seek that out all the time. And another thing that I sort of oddly seek out as a chef is grocery stores. and I'm like, okay, well, where's the Whole Foods? Where are the Trader Joe's? But then is there kind of something more local here that isn't just a huge box store that we can have fun and celebrate in, or even a farmer's market?
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I made the first piece of travel content that I made. We worked with the destination marketing organization on the San Francisco Peninsula. And, the whole concept was basically like every mountain bike trail has been GoPro'd to death. And so what I want to do is discover where is the local spot for pre-ride coffee? Where is the local spot for post-ride burritos? Where are the cool places that I need to hit? We went to this one place that was like, oh, this is where every Silicon Valley deal has been done. And it was like the most obscure random lunch spot of all time with all kinds of wild stuff on the walls. And we got to hear about how like the original iPhone was accidentally left in one of the booths there while they were prototyping it. And I don't know, like, I just love those kind of stuff that pop out,
For sure. No, I watched that episode. It's super fun and interesting. And then I also chuckled because you went to a Taco Bell, which probably is not your normal place, I would imagine. But of the Taco Bells to go to, it's right on the coast. It was gorgeous. Like you can't make this stuff up, folks. You just got to go do it.
Actually the piece of short form content that I made about that Taco Bell that we collabed with the SF Peninsula that one went crazy.
I can imagine.
If you Google best Taco Bell in the world, that's the one that comes up. So
cool.
Bay Area, there you go.
Nice.
So, okay, I want to know, like you said, you're sort of in maintenance mode a little bit. You've sort of unlocked this stuff. You have a physical product in these cookbooks. You have a TV show. You have the YouTube. You've got the content engine running. Are you just thinking about like keeping the boat afloat by doing these things? Or are there things that you kind of have like in the corner of your eye, like, I wonder what it would look like to have a Chef Corso meal that you take along with that would make it easier? Like, are you thinking about other stuff, or are you just like pretty satisfied, like, okay, we got it, we made it to like cruising altitude?
I think as any creator, you're never satisfied and you're always pushing for something else. And I think I don't hold me to this 100%, but most likely you'll never see an outdoor eats package meal. One of my previous positions was as a research chef, and I know how to produce a food product. I also know all the challenges and on how to do that. And it's something that I don't really want to pursue. What I would rather to continue to do is to teach people how to fish rather than giving them fish. So we do provide some supporting merchandise and tools to be able to cook up great meals. So we have a titanium spork and a foldable Campy chef knife on the website, and some spice packs that can be good starter kits and that kind of thing. But the goal is for you to go to the grocery store, shop, put it in your backpack or your rig, and go out there and cook. So you don't have to have me there with you, or have to have all these special things. There's a level of maintenance and flying high and doing solid. But I think that what I felt is that I just need to keep going down this path. There will be another, I use hiking as a nice analogy, is that there's a path in front of me. There'll be a couple forks in the road. Don't know really which one I'm going to take yet. There are some peaks that I want to peak bag. I want to celebrate when I get there. And then there's going to be more along the way. So I don't really know exactly what those are. But one thing I am experimenting with is some guided trips. So not that I'm Rick Steves at all, and I want to do hundreds of trips a year, but I respect his content and his style for what he's doing. I mean, he's just super supportive and just a nice fella to go, you're through the back door kind of thing. But we do have a couple of Outdoor Eats guided trips that are on the schedule this year. And these are a combination of food adventure and light adventure. So we're not going to go hike Mount Everest or do anything crazy and big like that. But I want to combine the food and combine the adventure and bring a nice community of people together for a week. And we're going to Oaxaca, Mexico in February, and then Ecuador in April. And I've been to Oaxaca twice the last couple of years. And speaking of Mexican food, if you like Mexican food, you definitely need to go there because it is absolutely wonderful for the flavors and the textures of the moles and fresh tortillas cooked in the street. So we're putting together some food tours, some cooking classes, some community cook events with some exploring around the Oaxaca area. And then down to Ecuador. Very, very interesting food culture down there. Pretty solid in the pantry ingredients from the potatoes and different indigenous fruits in the Amazon, but then also going to explore some of the mountains down there too. So those are available, and we'll throw a link down there for anybody who wants to join us. But that's kind of a next evolution is I just want to get fun people together that like food and the outdoors, and then we go have an adventure for a week and make some memories and taste some really good food and see some beautiful things. But that's kind of some next steps for Outdoor Eats.
This is so cool because I feel like that crossover of like, I want to be outdoors doing fun adventures. I also want to eat delicious food and everything in between those two things. I mean, this is sort of like the perfect mashup of everything that you do. Like all your stuff jammed into like an amazing trip that will likely be a trip of a lifetime. This looks awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and the other thing we're injecting is what I call community cooks. So that one thing that I've noticed on these guided trips is very few of them have free time, or they're always this like set up dinner. You have to sit with 12 people at a big table, and on night 5, there's just no more small talk you can talk about, right? So we're going to make it a little bit more active. Well, we'll stop at the markets, we'll have some camp stoves, and we'll do some community cooks. So like kind of a light workshop sort of situation. But that way we get to learn a little bit of something. We'll get to connect with the local ingredients and kind of do an impromptu meal. But I think it's going to be a little bit more fun than just the standard setup of dinner.
This looks amazing. I'll put the link to everything we've talked about, but I'll make sure that one definitely shows up in the show notes for this episode because this looks awesome.
It's going to be pretty fun. Anytime I can go to Oaxaca, the Oaxacan cheese and the chorizo, and the moles are just like absolute next level. They're so good.
That's so cool. Well, I'm super excited for everything that you've kind of got cooking here. Pardon the pun.
There's a lot of easy food puns. You're like, oh, people are hungry for this. Oh, let's get out there.
Nice. Well, we usually end every episode with a segment called BPC, which is brand product content. It's brands we've discovered, products we're using, content we love. Since you're the guest, I'll have you go first. What you got?
Well, I have some food things, shockingly. So some food products. I'll start with a book that I have really enjoyed over the last couple of years. I've actually read it a couple times. It's called Why You Eat What You Eat. And it's just a little bit of a sort of socio-science into some of our food choices. And it's just been, I find food interesting in a lot of different ways, but that's been a pretty fun book. So I guess we'll put a link down there below. So we're filming this in November, and I love seasonal produce because it only is here for a short time. So this is not just a tangerine. This is specifically a satsuma. And varieties of fruits and vegetables is very important. So thinking about romaine versus iceberg versus arugula versus red leaf, all of those have different components and textures. But the satsuma is a mandarin variety that only comes around for about a month around this time of year. And it's one of my favorites. It's the best orange you can get. It's easy peeling, best flavor, no seeds, but it's not like the little cutie. That's a different variety. But the satsuma is what you want. They're also called stem and leaf. So it's a very, very small thing, but small things get me excited sometimes. So look for the satsuma. But then one food product that I love and been eating a lot right now is called Mama Lil's peppers, Lils. And it's like pickled medium hot peppers that are good on pizza, on salad. They're packed in oil, and they're just like a wonderful harmony of sweet, tangy, spicy, vinegary, all kinds of things. And they're just like, I love, again, celebrating these artisans that aren't everywhere. You can definitely order them on Amazon. I think they're based out of Oregon. But that product, every time I eat it, I'm just like, great job, guys.
Congratulations.
And it's just a little bit different. And I think, spicy things have been getting very popular over the last few years. Chili crisp is super hot. You got hot honey. This is very hot right now and also like srirachas and different salsas and things. But if you are in that camp that you like those kind of flavors, check out Mama Lil's. It's just like super, super good.
I have a theory that the Hot Ones YouTube show is the reason why people got into spicy food. Like just that like subliminal, like watching people eat spicy food while they get interviewed thing. Mm-hmm. Just like I'm probably guilty of it too. Like, yeah, take something a little bit spicier. Why not?
Yeah. So quick question for you. How many hot sauces do you have in your pantry or fridge right
now? 3, but probably 2 of them are expired.
Okay, and what styles are they?
It's just like a pretty smoky red that my wife picked up at Whole Foods, which I've been enjoying. And actually, there's like a just kind of semi-generic salsa that my kids occasionally eat. Okay. Everything else is just either collecting dust and probably expired.
Got it. Well, I think a lot of us have at least 3 or 4 in the pantry right now, whether that's Cholula, Sriracha, the chili crisp, gochujang. Like there's so many options. And for me, it's like what I want to match it with the style of food. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I just want to put Cholula or Tapatio on everything. Like I want that specific chili flavor to match with my noodles or my rice dish or whatever. But yeah, I think a lot of people can name like 4 or 5 in their fridge or pantry right now.
Actually, now that you say it, we don't have it in our house right now, but I think I would put gochujang on pretty much everything.
It's a good one. And yeah, I mean, I like a little spice on a lot of things. And when I'm traveling to Europe, I often will pack some of those little hot sauce packs because it's just a flavor that they don't add to their meals a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it's something that I really enjoy.
Amazing. All right. My BPC, I tried to go a little travel related since it's sort of on topic here. Red Bull actually put out this video in the past week and someone skied from the peak of Everest down to base camp.
Okay.
They went in sort of like an off-season time, so there wasn't they were the only ones basically up there. They weren't like messing with everybody else that was trying to like get their selfie on the top of Everest. Mm-hmm. But the thing that was the craziest about this video, it's actually kind of a raw video, like a lot of POV style footage of the guy just skiing. Wow. And there's also like a drone shot that's kind of following the guy and just creating these like insane views that you would never be able to see. And it's almost like surreal to see somebody skiing in the shot. But my brain always goes, and I'm sure yours does too, into the production. Like, wait, so there was a drone operator like relatively close to the death zone of Everest who was like flying a drone at like 24,000 feet. I mean, the shots are incredible. But how insane is it that you can just fly a drone to the peak of Everest? I don't know. Like so much of the production behind the scenes, I would just love to have been there for that part of it to be like, okay, so you got to get a drone operator up to like the 4th camp or whatever. Like,
right. Well, yeah, I am really curious to see this now. But yeah, I'm glad you brought this up too. As you get into different mediums of content creation, is we can obviously still be entertained by content and clips and videos and things, but then my head goes the same thing. I'm like, oh wow, like how many people did they have on that shot? Oh, look at that lighting. Okay, when did they shoot this? And oh, look at the frame. And then it seems like they hung on to that scene a little bit longer. Yeah. And so you just kind of start to chew on it a little bit. Both, I think it probably can be a positive and negative kind of thing. But I think with all of that, it's eventually celebrating good craft. Yep. in content, whether that's writing or short form or long form video content. And there is a lot of interesting content out there, but then there's a lot of great creators out there that are pushing the envelope like yours that you're mentioning. But yeah, I'm curious to see it.
Awesome. Well, I'll have a link in the show notes. I'll send it to you also. So you have it.
Thanks. I don't have to wait for it to come out.
No. Well, thank you so much for having this chat with me. This is a really fun one. And I love having these discussions too, where we're just, kind of comparing notes on our experiences as creators. Mm-hmm. And, it is this like constant iteration and development and trying to hold all the, pieces together while we keep it moving forward. So continued success to you. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. And we'll be keeping an eye on the TV show and everything else. And I got to get on one of these trips, man. It looks too fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, it's been great to chat with you today.